How's the 1 year 198x the bulb of the torture jail is lit and hung right at the top of the prisoner. The prisoner is hung using the chains tied to his fingers his body is. Included in bruises and blood he obtained after being tortured, even his FT, are tied just so he can't face up to the use of them. A fly is sitting on his face, sucking his blood. It is crawling on his face. However, he nonetheless appears calm. However, all of the irritation he's going through, the number one phrase that comes out of his mouth after all of the interrogation and torturing is food. The pinnacle officer is amazed to hear what he simply said. One of the torturers says that the South Korean military may additionally serve the spies with food. However, they do not. The prisoner says that he will confess everything as they need inside the occasion that they provide him some food. As he's ravenous, the top officer asks if he without a doubt meant it. He says he'll provide him some food. However, he has to tell about his goals and infiltration path in return. The prisoner has the identical opinion and says he modified into clearly good looking to make a dwelling by means of the usage of turning into a member of the Navy. However, this manner, he will just die. Starving, the pinnacle officer orders the subordinate to carry a few food from the kitchen. However, he questions his order, so he receives angry and asks him to shut his mouth. He tells them that they have at hand over this prisoner to their superiors tomorrow, and they will scouse borrow their merits if they couldn't get the data from him. So the prisoner is unhung and is served the food. He's given the spoon and the chopsticks to devour the food. However, his palms are nevertheless chained. He holds the spoon along with his finger ERS and starts off of all taking the soup. He says that this soup tastes like not anything. Then he picks one of the chopsticks at the equal time as saying that military food continuously tastes horrendous. One of the subordinates says that the taste of the food isn't always critical proper. Now he want to genuinely eat and tell them about him. All of a sudden that chopstick spears inside the head of the top officer. In the beginning he himself does no longer recognize what has came about. However, then he falls at the table as he's useless. Now the infantrymen are taken aback to peer this, as they could not notice something happening. The prisoner tells him that the flavor of the meals sincerely topics. He's maintaining the second one stick in his hand. All of these torturers run toward him to kill him. However, he kills all of them with that one chopstick. He tells the ones useless guys that he is a senior intelligence sergeant, and his name is Do Janggon, and his infiltration course becomes swimming via the ocean, and his intention changed into to kill them. The same manner he absolutely did. Then he sees the fly who became annoying him in advance, so he goals at it with that stick kills. And after a while, Do Janggon is sitting with Lieutenant Colonel Park in a small restaurant in Seoul Town. The lieutenant tells him that there may be no man or woman like him in their employer. Why does he need to go away? Jinan replies that the military food has lost its flavor, but the food proper here appears scrumptious. The lieutenant smiles and affords the meat chunks inside the bone soup. He gives the relaxation to Jinan. Jinan selections a piece with the chopstick and says he does not eat like Park does. He takes a few rice without scooping everything the entirety straight away, then adds it to the soup. This way, he can enjoy the meals till the stop without the leftover rice getting soggy on the equal time as he is consuming. Park asks him if he is not going to stop due to that operation. Janggon asks what he is looking as he simply came back after completing this time's operation. Park says that Janggon is aware about precisely which operation he's talking approximately. Park says that at that factor the plan changed into to return lower back alive, and while he came lower back by myself, he did no longer fail. Jinan says it is not about that operation. After a pause in communication, he says thanks to Park for taking up him and helping him in growing a dwelling. Park says he did everything right, and he hopes that Janggon will be diagnosed for his abilities even after he leaves 12 months after at an introduction website online. Personnel are commenting on Jan's work that he might be very green at sporting heavy hundreds and digging its miles lunch. Destroy time. Janggon goes in the course of the economic organization. Right here, he appears at a female at the counter who's busy dealing with an antique lady. That female looks in the direction of him, and he waves at her with a smiling face. At all began 365 days ago, whilst he commenced strolling at a production organization, even as he had been given his first wage. The proprietor suggested him to shop a few money for the destiny, as it will help in doing what he certainly dreams, but he did not understand what he favored. To do in future at that point, although he went to the nearest financial institution in some unspecified time in the future of his lunch spoil and opened an account there. That day he noticed Sienna for the number one time and fell in love together with her at the beginning site, and after that he started out going there. Every single day, all through lunch harm time, honestly, to look her, he determined out that she belongs to a terrible circle of relatives and began. Strolling right here proper after graduating from excessive college, he also recommended her that he was a soldier. She requested him if he did not store any coins throughout his Navy provider. He tells her that he stored coins, then however gave it to the families of infantrymen who died. Now he's operating hard again to keep extra cash. In recent times he's right here once more to deposit some cash into his monetary financial savings account. She asks him to deposit cash as soon as a month in any other case. It's quite some work for him. He says he is nice this manner as he can see her every day by means of coming proper right here each day, and this is how he positioned a purpose to live well, but though he cannot live properly, he's taking note of information. On television, whilst mendacity at the couch at his home, he thinks approximately his past that the immediate he grew up he took schooling for every popular potential and survived missions of a moderate trouble all. At once a person knocks at his door. He asks who is there. The individual asks if that is First Sergeant Do. He opens the door in part and asks who he is, the man or woman. Introduces him as Joe Tun and says they have worked together. Janggon is surprised to see Tion nicely dressed and sporting a watch. He asks Tion how he located him. Tion replies that he searched for him everywhere and finally discovered him. He tells Janggon that he has a process request for him. Janggon asks what type of method. It's Miles. He replies that the sort he's terrific at. Jinin says he does no longer want to get his arms dirty for money. Tun clarifies that he does no longer need him to kill everyone. He simply dreams him to train someone a lesson. Jinin gets vital and asks him to be sincere with him about what he precisely wishes. Tion says he is a hit entrepreneur in the public's eyes. However, in fact, he is the boss of a gang, and the man or woman he wishes him to take care of is the boss of some other gang. Janggon tells him that he did no longer go away his army hobby to do some element like that. Tun asks what he weigh via using a few aspect like that. He similarly asks if he surrender his procedure to live in an area like that at the same time as working a creation challenge. Jinin asks him to be cautious about what he says. Tion says if he consents to do this job, he pays him 50 million won, and with that money, he can buy a brilliant residence or start a commercial enterprise to make his existence higher. Jinin thinks that he can't keep that an entire lot even in 10 years while strolling this introduction method. Tion offers him his card and says he can come go to him here if he changes his thoughts earlier than leaving. He says that it's Miles' high quality that a person like him attempts to keep away from the artwork. He is nice at Jinin locations that traveling card on the aspect desk on the identical time as mendacity at the ground. He thinks that he did not come right here to live like that. However, he can try and do what he were doing simply a piece longer, and he's going to find out if he virtually can't live without doing that detail. He is proper. And while considering this, he falls asleep the following day at the construction web page. There are various racks of cement bags present there. Whilst he reaches there, his boss asks him to preserve a number of those luggage up, wherein they will be desired. He asks wherein one-of-a-kind employees are. The boss replies that he genuinely referred to as him for these days, as he noticed him the other day wearing masses, and he thinks he can do this paintings without any assist. Jinin appears at his smiling face and thinks if this guy is for actual Sienna and her colleague are fame out of doors the financial institution. Taking tea, she appears on the sky and says how he'll get through these days. Her colleague asks why she is saying that her face continuously lightens up while it's Miles' lunchtime. Sienna asks what she is speak me about. Her colleague replies that she is surely amazing to Jinin. It seems she is inquisitive about him. Si replies that he simply comes to feature money in his financial savings account within the route of lunch damage. If this were a store, he can be one in every of their ordinary clients, so she should need to deal with him properly. Her colleague says she is probably right, as Janggon isn't that Extremely good look neither. Is he wealthy? This comment makes Sienna uncomfortable. She smiles and says he may not be, however, he has a pleasant body, even though her colleague replies that it's far due to the fact he works at a Advent internet page and has to reinforce bricks and heavy masses all day. SI says her father used to paintings at the development web page as properly, however, he in no way had a body like as she leans on her and says she have to get her nose out of her agency and she or he'll live out of hers. She warns her by way of announcing that she is aware of about her affair with that supervisor who appears down at them. While sitting on her counter, she wonders why she were given mad in advance when speak me about Jen, and all of a sudden he enters the bank and waves at her. She says it is no longer the lunch smash, yet so why is he proper here? He replies that he can be busy later. So he came a hint early, she asks. If he is right here to place money in his account, he says he clearly came to see her as he is going someplace. She tries to recognize what he's speaking about. He waves goodbye at her and says he is going to position pretty a few money in his account once. He comes once more, her cheeks become pink by means of manner of questioning that he truly got here to look her proper right here. He's taking a fee tag to Dies and takes the bus to satisfy Ton there while sitting inside the bus and searching at that visiting. Cardi thinks that matters will possibly get higher if he does so. Timon and his motive force are already there to pick out him up. Whilst he reaches TH while sitting in the automobile, Tion suggests the photo of the purpose named Park Guano. He tells him that at gift they each are stopping for the rights to the traveler resorts, slot machines constant with the guidelines. He cannot fight him immediately as this manner. He himself will lose the right to the machines, but if an unknown outsider that has not whatever to do with their ordeal all at once suggests up and does this, matters may run smoothly, and he can get those rights. He warns Jinan that it'll no longer be easy as Park is aware of that he's going to come for him, so he's underneath whole safety. He indicates that they ought to look forward to a chunk till he lowers his shield. Jinan asks him what time it's far. Tion startles in this query of his. He tells him that it is past 12 Janggon, says it method there can be a lot of time left till it's miles 4:30 p.m. The bank's close to currently. He asks him to take him to Park so he can deal with him rapid. Then Ton may be capable of deposit coins in his monetary organization account earlier than the bank's near Tmon SKS. If he is going now, he's going to need to combat lots of fellows on protection. Jinan says it need to now not trouble him. Ton takes him to the hotel in which Park and his underlings are having lunch. He also warns him about the special shield of the Park who's commonly with Park. That man became once in serum participant. Jinan asks what is the pleasant dish at this restaurant. The riding pressure informs him that the special dish proper here is their fried dumplings. Jinan says he will be once more soon and receives out of the auto. Park is taking part in his lunch at the identical time as all his underlings are present there as nicely. Jinan is sitting at a separate outstanding desk in the corner, having the fried dumplings in front of him. He's taking soya sauce and vinegar in a 1:1 ratio and pours them in a bowl. Then he sparkles the powdered crimson pepper in it. He dips the dumpling in it and eats it. The flavor of the food satisfies him. He finishes his meal, takes the drink, and thanks God for this scrumptious meal. After that, he throws the glass in the direction of Park, and it smashes at the wall inside the lower back of him. That fat guy asks what is wrong with him. Jinan says he is seeking to pick out a combat, as the noises his boss made whilst chewing food have been traumatic. Park seems at him in a peculiar way and orders his boys to get him, and all of them run closer to him to attack him. After for some time, anywhere on the ground are scattered meals, damaged furniture, and crushed guy's best. Janggon is popularity, retaining his arms in the pockets. Park is leaning by means of way of the wall inside the overwhelmed country. He asks him who he is, as there's no way he did now not realize a man as powerful as him on this disciplined Janggon Reese, that he can do not forget him as an outsider with intense anger control troubles. He smirks while his nostril is bleeding and asks who sent him. He says he will pay him double the quantity if he works with him. Jinan thinks if that man has sufficient coins to pay him 100 million. Park receives that he's paid very handsomely. He says that it does not rely due to the fact. Jinan asks him due to the reality. Well, why has he stopped? Speak me. he realizes that someone is in the back of him. It's Miles, that fat man maintaining a stole in his fingers and ready to assault him. Jinin defends himself by way of the usage of his palms at the same time as that man assaults. He feels brilliant pain, like something internal his frame has broken. He is ready to hit him again. However, Gagnon kicks among his legs. Brief tears ran down his face because of the pain. He falls on the ground and turns in his subconscious. Jinin appears at Park and asks him if it's Miles. 4:30 p.m. He appears at his watch and says it isn't even 2 p.m., but Janggon says it is good and walks away. Jinin and Tion come out of the financial institution after depositing coins in Jan's account. Tion says he did not count on that they may have made it in advance than the bank. Remaining time, he asks what Jinin is going to do with this cash. He replies that he isn't sure, but he observed a few apartments close to the bus terminal this morning, and he also can buy actually one of them. T-Moon says that the community is not splendid. He have to look for an apartment someplace in the middle of Jinin says he can attempt stocks as properly as definitely each person is doing it in recent times. Ton asks if he has a stock in his mind. He shows that he can pass for Han Electronics, as there is no risk for a company to head bankrupt who's responsible for offering energy to the whole USA of the US. Jinin says Sam Electronics seems exquisite to him as the brand new chairman of that company is a smart guy. All of a sudden, he feels pain like he just were given an electric-powered shock. He asks if they can go to the sanatorium because it hurts. Wherein he were given a hit. Ton says they're capable of go to the hospital that he visits regularly. Jinin asks what he method with the aid of often. He replies that there may be an antique scientific physician who does not seem amazed at the same time as he indicates up. Thereafter, you've got stabbed or harm as each hand's got plastered and he confused what has came about to him. The health practitioner tells him that his arms are fractured. The cracks will take a month to heal. Janggon shockingly asks if he without a doubt has to live like this for a month. The scientific physician warns him not to apply his fingers in any respect, as it's going to really dispose of the recovery technique. Janggon does no longer like the kingdom he is stuck in. Tun mocks him and says someone is going to have a piece of a tough time from now. They both visit a bar and drink. Janggon feels high quality, but then he asks if he's allowed to drink in this state. Timon asks if he in reality does no longer. Don't forget how he taught them to drink to heal the injuries. Jinin laughs and says it's been a while thinking about that. He heard that line. They both preserve in jesting and remembering their antique days inside the military after they worked together. Tion says he constantly knew that Janggon became sturdy. However, he failed to realize he may beat such a lot of humans in this type of short quantity of time. Furthermore, he obtained a fight together with his bear. Hansi says he had pred weapons too simply in case he wished. He shows that he can pass for Han Electronics, as there is no risk for a company to head bankrupt who's he controlled to get guns whilst pouring greater whiskey. Ton tells him that shotguns are without problems to be had. However, he smuggles pistols from Russia. Jinin says he has found a manner that suits him properly. He replies that the Navy write him higher. He says the unique forces suitable Janggon properly and asks why he left that manner. He will become gloomy and says he and 3 of his juniors participated in a venture, but he became the best one that got here once more alive. Ton is stunned. Janggon says he felt like he understand not had the proper to hold the process. So he stopped. He assumed that they may are to be had in his dreams, but they by no means did. Perhaps they hate him very. A bargain. Timon asks him to have any other drink. They both examine all of the one's empty bottles and realize they have got below the effect of alcohol. Lot. Jinin stands up and says he's leaving. Tun asks him how he may move home now. Janggon says he is going to take the bus as he actually desires to sleep in his very own mattress. Tion says he can book him a room in a resort and he can pass the following day. However, Jin and leaves anyhow on the equal time as walking on the pavement. He seems like he has eaten too much, so he sits at the bench. However, as he had drunk too much, he fell asleep there. On the bench, a van of a homeless steering middle passes with the useful resource of him and stops, seeing him lying at the bench. A few workers pop out and word this drunken man with every arm's crippled mendacity. There they determined to bring him in and deliver him a few steerage, so they take him with them to the top-notch welfare society. Janggon is Seeing a dream, he is in a subject, and it's miles dark anywhere someone is asking his call. He turns back sharply, because the voice is coming from in the back if he sees two guys in uniforms those are. Carrying the same lockets. He acknowledges them, as they were his junior fellows on that undertaking. He sees a gun at the floor near his toes. He options it up and places it on his head, and says if this is what they want, he's going to do it suddenly. He wakes up from his dream. He sees a man is clapping near his head to wake him up. Janggon sits, however his arm are nevertheless hurting. He asks that man who he's, and in which he's now. He tells him that his call is Lijo, and this location is a respectable welfare facility that outfit is inmates' garb at the equal time as he is explaining all that. Janggon stands up and walks away. Sunjo asks him in which he is going. Janggon stops near the door as it's miles locked. He wonders why it's miles locked from inner. Sunjo says he grow to be going to offer and reason behind that. First he tells him that that is the region where human beings are imprisoned through pressure. Janggon is taken aback and asks what he's talking. Approximately someone calls them from in the lower back of and asks what they're doing. Standing there, Sunjo tells him that that character is their platoon leader and has a terrible mood, so Janggon need to not worsen him. However, he is asking at the keys pinned together with his arm. He asks him to offer him the door keys. That guy appears at him with anger, so Janggon kicks his leg and he yells an ache. He desires to punch in his face, but then recalls what the medical doctor told him about not the use of his arm, so he stops. Of that, chief subordinates ask for permission to weigh down Janggon. That man orders them to ship him to the Ward 1, and every of them moves forward to triumph over him. Jinan thinks that he could beat them even together with his injured fingers. However, if Sunju is proper and they may be imprisoned there forcibly, it might be hard to interrupt out. With injured hands to break out from here, his arms need to be healed properly. However, if his palms get hit, even mistakenly, his damage is likely to worsen. So what must he do on the same time? Sunju comes ahead and tells them that this man truly got here in very last nighttime time and does no longer understand wherein he's, and he has no concept who. A great platoon commander is, therefore he behaved in that boastful manner that man thinks that it makes sense. Sunju says they ought to deliver him one chance, and he'll teach him well. That guy thinks and asks Janggon to beg for mercy. Sunju asks him to beg and say that it end up all his fault. Jinan continues to be bowled over and processing what's his taking vicinity here. However, nonetheless, he bends his head and apologizes, but that man punches in his head and asks him to behave better than. He asks everybody to move and put together for the role name while sitting in a row. Sunju tells him that he did fantastic, and he will supply an explanation for the things a bit later. Jinan observes that he's counting the humans. He says there are an entire of 24 human beings together with the new man. Then he unlocks the door on the equal time as going out. Jinan asks Sunju where are they going, and he replies that they may be going to have breakfast. After paying attention to the call of breakfast, he becomes glad. He observes the environment and thinks that this is not a military base, but it acts like one. It isn't always even a prison. However, it locks human beings. However, the strangest element is they name this a breakfast. He wants to stab the man or woman in rate with a chopstick in his brow, but they handiest deliver them a spoon whilst ingesting the food. Sunju tells him that this location is in which the homeless human beings are delivered in and guided. Jinan says he isn't always homeless. Sunju says not one of the people there are homeless. This area is in reality in which every person is captured and forced to paintings. America funds every homeless person right here, and to get that money, welfare imprisons humans. Jinan is stunned to pay attention that and asks who in the international does this to humans. All of a sudden, nicely, right men input the room. Sunju tells him that those are the folks who try this to human beings. These two are the director's sons. The most effective with the glasses is Park Gwang, and he is the VP proper here. The taller one is Park Yum, and he is the overall manager. Janggon seems at them and guesses that they are analyzing their Gwang, involves him and asks how he had been given those injuries on his fingers. Sunju tells him that Janggon is the new inmate who got here. Remaining nighttime, Gwang asks if it is probably viable for him to stay on welfare like this. Sunju says he's taking suitable care of him and he's going to train him everything. Gwang appreciates his effort. Sunju says he wants to be an honor pupil. Gwang get his intentions and says he's going to take into account his. Name the following time he selections for this publish. Now Janggon also finds the real motives of Sunju for being so excellent too. Him Guang asks Janggon if the meal's proper here, taste proper, he replies that the meal's is. In reality, awful right here Guang asks what he without a doubt stated. Sunju additionally begins off evolved worrying as he became just doing properly within to the front of the platoon leader, but now he is once more misbehaving. Jenin says he does now not assume this food is for even human beings, as the entirety is so rotten in this meal's. Guang lifts that tray and pours it on his head. He says that he must be thankful to them for giving him this meals. He smashes the tray in his head and says how he dares to whinge about something. Blood rushes into the eyes of Janggon due to anger. However, he does nothing. Because of his fractured fingers, Guang yells at Sunju to educate him, so he says not anything crazy anymore after they go away. Sunju asks Jenin if he is all right. Jenin is cleaning himself after that humiliation. On the breakfast table, he cannot even clean himself properly because of his fractured hands after that. He and Sunju are brushing the floor out of doors, as that is the artwork they were assigned to. Jenin says that his clothes aren't drying nicely as he wore them right after washing them up. He is still angry due to what Guang did to him. Earlier, Sunju tells him that his clothes will dry robotically at the same time as he works below the sun. He says that he have to be relieved that Guang did this to him in advance than the tub time, otherwise he could ought to wait to easy himself. He replies that it's far unethical to do this to the people. The least bit in vintage bald inmate comes there carrying garments to scrub and says he's of the equal opinion with the newcomer. Janggon notices that his way of speaking is a bit unusual. Sunju calls him Your Excellency and asks why he's proper right here. Janggon wonders if he intended the president when he known as him Your Excellency a person calls him from in the again of and says that his excellence changed into to clean the garments. So what he is doing outside there, his excellence asks why it is him constantly who has to do the washing garments. Jenin asks why that man turned into being known as Your Excellence. And why does he talk like he's the president? Sunju says it isn't always that he's impersonating the president. It is that he thinks he is the president. That old man came returned from the Vietnam battle, and after that he's been insane ever. On account that he sees topics and has nightmares, he changed into very scared to look that bald president and shudders each time he sees him on the information. As he ages, he's balding, and he cannot appearance in the mirror because it reminds him of that bald president. Jenin says it is very unfortunate that he had to go through that owl. He asks Sunju how he is aware of that plenty approximately him. He replies that that vintage guy's buddy become also locked up there, and he informed him everything. However, he died due to a few sickness. Janggon shocks and asks if he died right here at this vicinity. Sunju says many humans die right here, some because of accidents, a few because of sickness, or some because of getting beaten up through the frame of people or platoon chief. He says that the platoon leader said approximately sending him to the ward earlier. If he remembers, if someone is sent to the ward, they do not treat him there. They really leave him until he dies. Jenin says that those are absolutely the terrible men. All of a sudden, the platoon leader calls all people to collect at the sports activities location proper. Now Sunju tells him that today is the inquiry day, and he can see the worst guy among all of the terrible guys. Janggon wonders what he is. Speak me approximately all of the inmates, their status inside the row, to be aware of the director of this welfare. His name is Parkinal and sundry bows. In front of him, Inni begins off of all the dressing and says there are numerous bushes inside the worldwide, and each of those have their very own use. Likewise, people also have their own use consistent with their respective characters and potential, but the ones all repute inside the front of him are nugatory beings who were clearly nugatory out of doors. He calls them twisted and unattractive. Would then he says that much like Jesus, he have emerged as a woodworker pruning and trimming useless would like them, so that you can discover they're definitely worth absolutely everyone. Starts clapping unwantedly. Janggon does now not like all of the nonsense he is announcing shamelessly while pretending to pay attention to him. He discovers the form of the welfare facility. This Vicinity is made through lowering off the middle of the mountain. Maximum of the area is surrounded through way of a moderate wall, the most effective vicinity. Without the wall is the cliff wherein the mountain emerge. As reduced, there may be exceptional one primary gate if he tries to escape via the gate. The one's guards will attack him at the equal time, so it's far tough to get away with the one's fingers in. He walks down the stage. He hugs his sons and says thanks for looking after this region. Buwang is going on the level and pronounces the call of the inmate decided on as the respect student. Sunu is excited and hopeful that he might be selected as the honor scholar. Janggon asks him what an honor student is. He replies that it is the man or woman who's decided directly to ship home from the welfare. Guang says that the person decided on this time is Quack Dong. Guang calls him on the level to mention some component. Dong says Wei to him and says he is happy as he is in the long run going domestic. He is taken to the workplace, in which he asks while he is probably sent home. Guang tells him that the medical doctor will come and test his fitness ultimate time before he is sent domestic. After a while, the scientific physician comes there and does a huge checkup of his and broadcasts him healthy. Then he gives him an injection with the useful resource of pronouncing that it's foreign nutrient as a manner to maintain him healthful.